Everybody. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. The Windows update decided to install at 9:08, like 10 minutes ago, on my main computer that runs all the algorithms. I was like, are you freaking kidding me right now? So, sorry I'm like a few minutes late. I got that thing back up, got all the bots are back running, all the algorithms. I was like, now is the time you pick. Like, I'm not using, like, it's supposed to be when you're not using your computer, right? It's like, oh, so now is the time. Beautiful. Anyway, welcome everybody, all my channel members like Andrew, Don, Logan, Svenborn, Dan, David, Rob, Serge, Craig, Terry, Will, Arturo, Diane, David. Good to see ya. Mary, Carlene, Jason, Al, Donald, Ted, Rod, General Rush. Good to see you, sir, as always. And Rongamer, Chris, Frank, Craig. Wow. Whole crew's here today. The market's melting down. Time to freak out, right? Holy. Now, if you bought CashBot, if you're brand new to JT, you're like, well, this sucks. We're not getting any trades. Chill out. The thing's doing what it's supposed to do. Keep us out of trouble. Like, I don't want to lose money. I programmed the bot to not try to attempt to not lose money. So let's keep that in mind. All right. I did my best to try to account for all the little quirks. So anyway, I'll update on what's happening here as we go along. But first, we're going to head to Hollywood. Forget red carpets and Oscar speeches. We're potentially attending a funeral here. The funeral for the Hollywood actor. Now, before you start lighting a candle in your vigil for your favorite movie star, let me clarify. They're not all dead and going away, at least not yet. But the panic, it's real in Hollywood right now. The decline is real in Hollywood. It's the kind of panic that you only see when an entire industry realizes that they're the mouse and the cheese just got moved behind a glass wall. And the new cheese might even be fake. The alleged murderer, in this case, we have a flesh-faced starlet named Tilly Norwood. She's got the looks, she's got the talent. The agents lining up to represent her. This is not just one tiny detail. Tilly isn't real. She's an AI, a ghost in the machine, who could probably cry on cue better than half the cast of any daytime soap opera. And the Screen Actors Guild, oh, they're not happy. They're putting out press releases faster and more furious than a Fast and Furious movie puts out sequels. They say Tilly is not an actor. You can't hire it. It has no life experience to draw from, to project on the screen. To which, well, I have to say, have you seen most of the movies been put out lately? Life experience doesn't seem to be a prerequisite to making trash. I mean, where's the good movies? I think Hollywood's suffering from their own, maybe, inflated self-worth. I mean, you can't unionize a piece of software, right? You can't bully them into going on strike. Tilly Norwood doesn't need a trailer. Doesn't need, and when I say trailer, I mean like doesn't need all the accoutrements that go with a big actual RV on site with their name on the thing. They don't need a personal chef. They don't need a multi-million-dollar salary, although they might need a multi-million-dollar electric bill and some multi-million-dollar good graphics cards. And that, my friends, is where this story gets interesting for us, because while the actors are crying foul ball and the tabloids are having a field day in Hollywood, the smart money isn't really focused on the drama. It's focused on the disruption. This isn't a story about actors and robots or actors versus robots. We've seen that movie before. It's a story about fundamental shift in how content is made, and where there's a shift, there can be opportunity. So let's look at the past, the Hollywood hand-wringing, and talk about where the investment plays potentially are. This is a classic picks and shovels gold rush. We've kind of hit on lots of this before. And you don't bet on individual prospectors. You bet on the guys selling the gear. We've talked about this. We've harped on it. First, you have AI model creators themselves, the puppet masters, if you will. You've heard of OpenAI, and it's not available to invest in at this point. The company behind ChatGPT, well, their new toy is called Sora 2. Just came out recently. It's a video generation model that has Hollywood studios both terrified and intrigued. OpenAI is still private, but you can bet your bottom dollar when they finally do eventually get out there with an IPO, this is going to be one for the history books. Keep it on your radar. But there's plenty of other players that you can get a piece of right now, directly and indirectly. A private company called Runway AI, valued at over $3 billion already, is in the business with the big boys. They've raised $500 million in funding, and guess who's using their software? Netflix. That's right. NFLX, and none other than Disney. DIS. Those are the Tiggers. They're not replacing actors. Not yet. They're using AI to slash their visual effects cost. Special effects. Speed up productions. So while the actors are on the picket line, the studios are in the lab figuring out ways to do more with less. And you can own a piece of that action by investing in the studios that are smart enough to be adapting, not picketing. But who powers all this? Well, the obvious, right? Who makes the chips that give Tilly her digital soul? That brings us to the undisputed king of this gold rush, NVIDIA. Every time AI model is trained, pretty much NVIDIA is the one that built the hardware. It's happening on chips that more than likely came from NVIDIA. It's the most obvious play in the book, but in a revolution like this, sometimes the obvious play could be the best one to have a piece of. And it's not just the chips. There's software involved here that brings this all together. It's not just AI models. There's companies in the background like Autodesk, ADSK. Now, you might have heard of AutoCAD. I have a few copies of it installed here at my office. This is the software that they use to build all these, like, to pull all these pieces together. They went out and bought a company called Wonder Dynamics. This didn't really make big news. It's an AI-powered VFX, visual field effects, VFX, startup. And this startup, well, they were a smart, established company. And Autodesk is a smart, established, blue chip kind of software company that is actually looking toward the future of entertainment. They see where the puck is going. They're taking steps to get there. Now, the market for AI in visual effects is set to explode from about 140 million currently to over 700 million by 2030. That's a 25% compound annual growth rate. This isn't a fad. This is a potential mega trend. So the takeaway for you, my investor friends, forget the headlines about robot actors. The real story is the quiet revolution happening behind the scenes. It's the decentralization of content creation. I use these tools myself. It's the rise of independent creators who can now make blockbuster quality content from the comfort of their laptop. It's the established players like Netflix and Disney using AI to get the competitive edge. And it's the infrastructure companies like NVIDIA, Autodesk providing tools to make this all happen. Don't bet on whether Tilly Norwood is going to win an Oscar. Bet on the companies that build the stage that she performs on. Because in the end, Hollywood is about selling illusions, and it turns out the most profitable illusion of all might be not using real people. So that's what we got for the opening monologue about that. Be careful out there. Jumping over here, all trading involves a substantial risk of loss. Past performance, not necessarily indicative of future results. This presentation intended to be informational, educational, fun, entertaining, not a recommendation to be buying or selling any financial instrument, including stocks, options, bonds, forex, futures, cryptos, treasuries. If you trade them, you might lose money. I make predictions. Sometimes I get lucky. I know the way this goes. I'm just a guy sitting here on YouTube, like my morning monster, and make predictions. Show you off some trades, and if you desire that for personal financial advice, hire and consult a financial advisor. You want somebody to tell you what buttons to push? That's not me. I'm not telling you what to do. I give you some guidance. I show you, I build some cool tools and share them with you. But I'm not telling you what to do with your money. Nobody's going to care about your money more than you do. Sad fact. If you don't care, nobody else is going to care. Here we go. Open it up down a little bit. Ooh, man. What if this closes green today? This could be exciting. Let's do a poll. What do you think? Start a poll. There's the button. Do we recover and close green today? Let's just say positive. There we go. That way nobody gets confused. There we go. Yeah. It's crazy, right, David? You know what's funny is I've used AI to help me write all this stuff so I actually sound better. It's getting crazy. Like, I have a digital assistant that I pay $39 a month to that goes and looks up all this stuff and gives me the data to be able to make these stories. It kind of gives me basically a rough outline. I do ad lib a little bit here. Well, some days it's a lot of it, some days it's a little bit, and add some extra flair to tie into the stuff we normally talk about. But it's getting better because it knows this show. Like, it watches what I say and revises how it gives me the information. It's freaking crazy how good this stuff's getting. So, absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. Yes, well, I warned yesterday that this didn't look healthy, and the result of that is right here so far. We have not gone lower low, though. Now, was this potentially a diagonal? Leading diagonal, and this was just a deep retrace? It's possible that this was some sort of wave one, maybe in an A, B, C fashion. And this was the correction to a deep 2. And we're about to get the 3. That's kind of what this actually looks like. Because this was an ABC complete. That looked like a, to me, with the enthusiasm where we came up to, this looked like a wave 1, even though it was in an ABC. And this, that looked like an A. That looked like a B. And this looks potentially complete into a C. So the thing about diagonals, they're messy, they're sloppy, they're difficult. And the wave 2s retrace most of the way to the bottom of the wave of the start point, which we got right here. Typically that gets down to 88.6. I don't usually keep that fib on my chart because I don't like to trade diagonals. I don't like to try to guess where they end. In fact, I took off the 88.6 fib line here. No, I did that wrong. I need a 0.886. Point. Hello. Gotta have the 0. Yeah, right there. Really darn close. Yeah, right there. That's typically indicative of what happens in a diagonal. So this would be potentially a diagonal cooking here. Now the proportions, this, I don't like diagonals first instance. Second instance, they're not easy, but takes us higher. And the third move probably happened in 3 waves and might take us up here. Then we get another retrace. Be very deep again. Should be basically, if we get to that height, let's remove that one so we don't get too confused. Probably retrace back down in here again. So this is going to be like a, you're starting to see the pattern here. Like it's going to be like something like that, something like that. And then we'll do the last move and probably take us up possibly somewhere in this vicinity. That'll be a new all-time high, but this might be, so this might be the ending diagonal, not erectile dysfunction. It's an ending diagonal. Elliott wave speak. That'd be 1, 2, 3, 4. And we might wrap this up in sometime in November. And the thing about ending diagonals, they're not usually likely to end up in a blow off top. They're usually likely to end up in a kind of a fizzle. Like maybe a little grind higher than the 3 and that. So there we go. That's what it kind of looks like. We'll see how well I predicted this. So back above the 618. Except that's the wrong one. That 618. Back above that sets us up to come up here. And then we'll probably do that bigger retrace. Back down here. And then we might get another move right up in there. That's what it looks like. Stay frosty, my friends. That's looks like we're in for some chaos. Now it can flip the script and change this up, but this is what it looks like we're in for, given what's going on right here the last week. Now, if we break down, make a lower low, changes the path. So set your alert right here at that low. And you got to use the overnight low from last Friday, the right at the close low from last Friday. That would be down here at 54, 65.40. You'd be like, well, can't I use the SPX? No. This price action is different. SPX stopped at 4 o'clock on Friday. ES dropped out another 60-something points after the close on Friday. You didn't know that. See the yen down here? This was at 5 o'clock Eastern time. The market closed here. And we did this after the market closed. Flushed out. So it's a piece of missing data on the cash index that you don't see. And why not use SPY? Because SPY is an ETF. It's a derivative. SPY is not S&P 500, not directly. If you thought it was, I'm sorry to tell you, it's not. Now, it is one of the most popular ways to play the S&P 500. But look at this. Vanguard, VTI, is bigger than SPY. And rolling on down here. No, IVV. Yeah, VU is usually bigger than, yeah, VU is right there. VU, Vanguard's S&P 500 ETF, is also bigger than SPY. More assets under management. SPY is an ETF. VU is an ETF. 1.3 trillion. IVV is also a similar, run by BlackRock, iShares. iShares means BlackRock. That's interesting, right? There's VTI, VU, and IVV to compete with SPY, but SPY has the most options traded. So interesting. Interesting. Wow, there's a lot of ads on this website. NQ, similar. I don't like that three-wave nature of this, but at this point, holding that higher low, as long as we hold it, we can go higher here. If we break through that 618, probably coming on up. So same, NQ, SPX, SPX, NDX, same similar stuff. Russell still needs to tag that upside target. And wow, he got whacked on Friday. This looks like it wants to do one final push right up there. When we hit that 2600, that might be ringing the top. Oil continuing to flush. Here we are. Getting into the vicinity. Watch out for a hot war. Missiles flying in the Middle East. Down here's the target zone. We're getting close. Gold. It's going really parabolic. A little too parabolic for my liking. Silver. Showing some instability here. Be careful. We may get a pullback like this. Very commonly, when we use our roadmap pattern, which is what this is on a great big time frame. So it's like a monthly bounce. A lot of times when we get that first push out, we get a rejection and then we push on up. So just be careful. We could shoot this thing way on up here. Still feel like silver is one of the bigger opportunities. That's cool. My browser logged me out. Log back in. See if there's anything. I'll have to check that later. All right, everybody. Looks like barely people think we're going to close green. Back into the chat here. I don't know. Can you clone me? I'd rather just upload myself into the consciousness and just clone myself that way. Live forever. I've had you can ask my kids. I've talked about this in their entire lives. How I'm going to live forever. I may just upload myself into the consciousness, collective consciousness. A Bitcoin, here's all the halving events and halving runs. There's one, there's one, there's one. Guess what we're doing now? We're so close to the target. I'll put that target on there as the place we might run to. And look, we don't go a long time coming into potential end of this baby. Coming into the potential end here. See, look at this last one. From the halving to the top. Well, that's actually the top right there. From the halving into the top. I don't know. Size-wise, I don't know. Size-wise, you got to go off the low. Duration-wise, we're at the end. We're right in the end. Look. Halving to the top. Matches here. Matches here. Matches here. We're at the timeline that this baby can be done. Where's the big kaboom? Well, low to high. Low to high. Came up a little shy this time. But we're in the time frame to top. That's the warning right there for Bitcoin. Don't want it to be that way? Not really, but hey, market does what the market wants to do. Now, right now, it's starting to look like a three-wave correction. We haven't gone lower low yet than back here. Certainly looking like a three-wave correction, though. And we could see this dip on down here. It'd be an A, B, C. Now, I just don't want this to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll have to dive in and check it lower time frame to see if that's what we're getting. But this right now, nice proportions for this to be an A, a B, and a C right there. That could be what we see over the weekend if things keep going south. Now, this could also be complete. Like, the only requirement is a lower low, and that's exactly what we got. This could go ripping from here. Go back to a new high, but be much stronger proportion-wise. We took a trip down here. And maybe tag that 3-day. Tag that, and then go make our final move higher. Ethereum, Ether. Well, got the 618. If we hold right here, yesterday I was kind of speculating that we might see this. That's why the fib line was drawn on here. If we turn higher from here, break out, that's the initial sign that we're going higher. Probably do a new all-time high on Ethereum in a big way. Extension. That extension would be right up here. First conservative target right around 62, 6,300 right up here. That big pullback that started back in November 21. That extension right there, and possibly up to 76. So bigger upside potential on Ethereum than there is on Bitcoin. NKD, global liquidity indicator, is on the struggle bus here, trying to break out. Can't really do it so far. And I guess let's kind of give an update on what's happening here a little bit. So just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water, the financial pundits are kind of talking about how banking's a little bit distressed. I mean, we're talking about cockroaches back in the system here, and I'm not just being dramatic. I mean, the big kahuna himself, Jimmy Dimon over at JP Morgan, saying on his earnings call that, golly, I mean, in all of his infinite wisdom, you can say it's folksy or whatever, he warned that when you see one cockroach, there's probably more. And he's talking about like Tricolor and all these subprime lenders kind of having a problem. Well, this week, we're not just seeing one. We're seeing a whole swarm of them crawl out of the regional banking woodwork. And the market, it's kind of freaking out a little bit. That's where the cracks are this week. That's why we're seeing what we're seeing. And this one right here, KRE, this is where it's showing up. Regional banking. This big down yesterday. I talked about yesterday morning. There was a $6.5 billion shortage that caused this freak out 2 days back. Yesterday, we got another continuation. There's cracks in the woodworks. Somebody might have been talking about how there's $300 billion of CRE. And this is just an ETF, KRE, which is Spider's regional banking ETF. There. CRE is commercial real estate. Most of it is run by, there you go. There's a entry for those of you in Cashbot. CRE, most of the problematic loans are in regional banks. In fact, regional banks have 300% of their net liquid asset value tied up into these problematic commercial real estate loans. This drama unfolds, are too big to fail regional banks, Zions Bancorp, Western Alliance. On Wednesday, Zions, a Salt Lake City bank, casually mentioned in a filing that they're taking a $60 million hit from a few bad loans. And the best part of all this, they'll probably never see 50 million of that ever again. They're going to take that loss and eat it. They're calling it an isolated incident, but sure. Not to be outdone, Western Alliance, this is a Phoenix bank. Well, they stepped up to the plate on Thursday and announced that they're suing one of their borrowers for fraud. Well, guess what? This show, the rumors were already going over. Like, people already knew this was going to be a problem, and here we go. This one barely skated by back here when Silicon Valley Bank blew out. And surprise, they got more problems. Go out of business? I don't know. I mean, it's kind of like a 1-2 punch of incompetence in the regional banking sector. Allegedly, this is contained, but what if it's not? What if it's not? What if this gets out of hand? Right? And we saw VIX ticking higher too. So this is spiking higher this morning, but already dropping back. Is it all contained? Is it all good? Is everybody we're papering over everything as fast as we can? It's all good. Don't worry. Don't look at the shiny. Don't look at the house burning down over here. Look over here. So it turns out that this is kind of the trailing problems from auto parts and car loans that I mentioned a week or two back. First Brands, Tricolor, they went belly up. I talked about that last couple weeks, and it's exposing how sloppy the lending has been. Imagine that, banks getting sloppy on lending, just trying to make a buck, and you know what? These cracks start showing up. And we're not even to commercial real estate unfolding yet. It's going to be a problem. So, I mean, you've got KRE here. Guess what? There's a 2x inverse regional bank ETF. SKRE, short KRE. If you think this is going to keep going, this might be a way to play. Safe Haven, GLD, possibly. Contrarian, you feel brave at this. Zion. I don't know. Truist. Maybe. RF. These are other places, Regions Financial. It's on the edge of regional bank or big bank. Regions kind of splitting that a little bit. Then you have, of course, the big banks that seem to be somewhat immune to regional chaos. JP Morgan and Bank of America. But this could spill over and reach out and get them. Wells Fargo. Right there. So what to avoid, though? Well, this one might be one to avoid. Blue Owl Capital here. This one could burn it down pretty quickly. This is a private credit lender. And we'll see if that actually provides a shelter or not. So the punchline, be careful. All right, that's kind of what's unfolding here is the fallout from Tricolor and our auto parts supplier going bust, and it's showing up in places we've seen before that have been struggling. So thought I'd update on the credit risk going on here. So be careful. And there's real cracks in the works here. It's not like Jamie Dimon Jamie Dimon doesn't typically buy up regional banks. It's not necessarily the game plan here. So I'd be a little more cautious. There's still that 300% of their liquidating value. Like if you take the bank and net liquidate it, there's still 300% of that outstanding. So 200% over leveraged, you might call it, in CRE that may not be worth that much. The rates are stupid. People are they're going to default and that's the whole reason that Trump wants to push the rates back down. This is what's going on. This is the narrative. I mean, this is not the narrative, but this is what's actually going on. The narrative is everything's fine. Just keep going about your life. Everything's great. Economy's strong. But there's a problem. It's of like hearing the rod knocking in the engine. So anyway, there's a problem. Do you choose to ignore it? So far, we, the people, are just papering over. Turn the radio up. Turn the radio up loud enough, you don't hear the fact you're actually using the calipers to stop the car. You don't hear that grinding sound every time you come to the red light. Amazon, trying to confirm that it might be on a downward trajectory here. Google, tried to reach for the target. This might take another step back. 3 waves down, move up. Might see that come on down before we can go on up here. Meta. Sitting on the roadmap line still until we get below. That's support. As long as we're above it, up is the direction. If we get below it, there's the downside risk. And Microsoft still has the potential to come back to retest the breakout. So upside resistance 530, downside target right around 480, 470, 470, 480. So we do one of those two things. I'm not sure where we're going. So got to break above here to get here. Got to break. This is more likely to me. And then we'll do this. Or if this doesn't hold, we'll take a trip down here. So that's the risks. Here's the site. Just tell me which one to do. I don't know. That's the thing. Like here's what's most likely to happen is we go test the roadmap line. I give that like probably 75% odds. Just based on doing this a whole lot. Netflix, I talked about it for a long time that we were going to go hit the roadmap line. And finally we did. It just took a while. Like how long? No idea. We're eventually going to come down in this area. More than likely. I mean, it's just, there's high odds that we're going to go do that. It's just, how long do we mess around in here before we do that? I don't know. I don't know for sure. Netflix, it took a while. We'll get a lot of lines on here. We started right back here in July. Looked good to hit it in August, but we took a trip back up to the 618. And then we went down and hit it right here in October. So that took all of July, all of August, all of September. And then we finally hit it in October. So 3 months. Now we're working on this next piece. Like if this is a 618 retrace, if this was the move up, this holds the 618 retrace. This breaks back through above that. Probably come up here. And if we can get above that price section right there, which is the 618 from the initial drop, or actually from the whole drop, we're probably going on to a new high. But at the same time, we have this downtrend highs now. We got to get through it. So Microsoft is at that AB point. Absolutely beautiful correction. Right there. NVIDIA, a lot more murky. This kind of looks somewhat like a diagonal. And as long as we hold above that low from back here in September, sets us up for going higher. But if we do get below that, I expect the roadmap line to hold and retest the breakout, and that breakout could come on down pretty significantly when you look back, the breakout zone is something like this that we could go retest on NVIDIA before going higher. Now, 212 is the upside target for now. And I talked about this being, this was probably an A, B, where things got a little too excited on the B and went higher than the origin point. And then this was a C, and it did get the lower low. So this all fits. It just is a lot more sloppy. And then this whole price action is sloppy, so it makes it very difficult. There's a lot of excitement to the upside on NVIDIA because of all the AI hype. And it's preventing it from just doing a proper correction and providing clarity on where it's heading next. And Tesla has earnings coming up next week. There's lots of premium available on options for next week, or the options are going to cost you lots of premium. If you're selling, there's lots of premium. If you're buying, it's expensive. They're probably going to have their best quarter ever, but they're probably going to say that the next 9 months are uncertain in car sales, because maybe 12 months, because the end of the tax credit was right back here. 7,500, all their cars just got $7,500 more expensive for people that actually pay tax. If you are in the high income tax bracket or in the bottom income, in the don't really pay much tax, this never mattered anyway. So should be interesting. They already knew that when the tax credit got announced it was going to go away. That's kind of what caused this whole, that was pricing. Oh, that's cool. Thanks. Reload the tab. Save all my work, please. Save. Oh, cool. Yeah, awesome. I'm going to lose all my work. There it goes. See if I reload. Pushing the limits on this graphics card. So all that back there was the announcement that the tax credit was going away, and Elon being in politics, blah, 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 blah. Now we know it ended. We know they probably had their best quarter ever, and we know the next 9 to 12 months is rough. So where does it go from here? Probably still coming up here. People are pricing this thing for perfection. They just made like $165 million order for robot parts. Just some robot parts. Delivery start January 2026. Should be interesting. They're going to start building a lot more Optimus robots. Netflix. Like I talked about, we're looking for this 618 retrace right here. That low, this high. Hold the line. Breakouts. Go higher. Looking for the extension up here. Maybe up to 1400. All right, I go pull gainers, which there weren't a lot today. And I go pull decliners, which surprisingly there weren't actually a ton of those either. Put them on the list, and I bring a couple setups, which there were only 2. Not a great day. It's just one of those not awesome days in the market. There's the entry. 76.86 is the target. Statistics on this baby. You can see it kicked off too. So 15.73.2. And just an average ticker. There's the high, there's the low. This algorithm's already in it from back here. That was the entry, 1179. Potential, 10 trades, 90 and 4. These two might get you convinced to get involved. But be careful, there's only 10 trades in the history. The next 20 could be losers and completely wipe these numbers out. But early indications are that this is going to perform, so there you go. All right. Well, opportunity today, I don't know. MSTR just made a lower low, so this is a big problem. Rejected the roadmap line. This is indicating that crypto winner is here. Canary is canary, and it's laying in the bottom of the cage, coughing. We come down here. Crypto winners here. And this played out exactly like it did last time. Last crypto summer, made the high, came up, made a lower high when crypto actually topped out, and crypto winter started. Be careful, everybody. That might be what we got going on. Be careful. Lily taking a trip back to the roadmap line again. Expect that to hold and pop right there. And well, thanks. Thanks for the reactions. Anything I said was helpful, beneficial. Give me a thumbs up. I'm gonna go be on customer service live here in about 20 minutes. So prosperitypub.com/help. I'll throw that link in the chat. If you want to come join me on that, and then I'll be on Roger's VIP room. I think I'll be on Market Masters for a few minutes. I'm going to be live a lot this morning. It'll be well into the afternoon before I can do any trades or talk to anybody. So be careful out there, help each other. For those of you that are Termite Trading Lab members in Discord, try to field the questions. If you can tag me if I need to have any attention to anything. And hopefully, once we get through this week, next week will be kind of back to normal since we're not launching anything next week. Cashbot's out. They'll probably have me live a few more times, but we're going to start winding down the sales effort and just get back to work. So have a great day, everybody. See you again soon. We'll be back on Monday. Same bat time, same bat channel, 9:15. We'll do it all over again. Hunt for opportunity. Talk about what's happening, what's cracking. It's crack-a-lacking. Be careful out there. Nobody's watching out for your money more than you are. So if you think somebody's watching your money, guess what? They're not. They're not.